What's up, guys? Thanks so much for coming back. I appreciate you, each and every single one of you. Big shout out to Jason over at Ewheels for letting me get a hold of this Lynx after Duff. I really appreciate that. All the way to the moon, man. I just thank you. You know, little old me. So I will just kind of open with this. I didn't necessarily get a sample that I felt was absolutely representative of what Leaperkim had in mind when they created this product. I think that there was perhaps a little bit of some error in the way that mine was put together, maybe in the handling of it in New York or in the handling of it with Duff. It was just made to ride a little bit less than ideal. So I'm actually not going to have any critical commentary about this wheel subsequently, just because I don't think that would be fair. I did not get what Leaperkim had in mind. I don't think. And I'm actually not going to really talk about that anymore. But we are going to get into some of the stuff that I really was able to kind of dig into. So at first, when I was riding the wheel, I was hitting like tilt back every single time at like 26 miles an hour, and I was like, "What's going on?" And it was an aggressive tilt back. That was the only time that I hit tilt back, because after that, I set tilt back to a much higher speed, and we never touched that. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about the Lynx. Let's talk about the Veteran Lynx. Let's talk about the build quality first. When I first opened it up, it felt a lot like the patent, except it was refined in a couple of ways that I think are critical. They ended up covering up the batteries, or not the batteries, but the little adjustment knobs on the shocks, which is really important. If those take a beating too much, you're gonna break your shock, and that's not good. So they covered that up, and they also, in doing that, made it a little bit more ergonomically friendly. And then other than that, you have pretty much the same kind of feel as what's going on the patent, except of course the refined magnesium alloy, so it's a little bit thinner for what it is, but really it just presents and feels a whole lot like the patent, and of course it does feel very durable, incredibly well built. They could use some rubber shims in between the bumpers and the actual frame of the wheel, so that way we could mitigate a little bit of vibration. You'll see this feature on the InMotion V13. I think anybody that's using CNC as a roll cage kind of function, aluminum or steel, any sort of alloy, if we're using that, or even the plastics, the very hard plastics, if it's rigid, it needs to have a rubber shim between the actual box and the actual bumper, so that way we don't transfer all of the vibration into the actual brain, the controller, the batteries of the unit. So built very well, but other than maybe we could add some rubber shims there. We love everything about it. The water resistance, I mean, it seems like it's going to be an incredibly water resistant vehicle. I don't know. I didn't put it through any water, so I can't tell you that directly. As far as the performance goes, it is ridiculously fast. It likes to cruise right around 40 miles per hour. For reference, the InMotion V12 is something that likes to hang out around 17 to 20 miles per hour. At that speed, you can get something like 100 miles out of the V12. I mean, I kid you not. So I say that to say that, the Lynx at about 35, 40 miles per hour is an effortless cruise. It just kind of wants to hang out there indefinitely. And I have no doubt in my mind that at 35, 40 miles per hour, you could achieve something like 80 to 100 miles easily on this wheel, at my weight, which is right around 90 kilograms when I'm fully loaded. Let's see. It is okay. It seems like it's going to be a maneuverable wheel. With the street tire on there, it seems like it's effortlessly carvable. Definitely doing very well for a street tire on a 20-inch platform. It does exactly as a street tire on a 20-inch platform would be expected to perform. And I am deeply deeply impressed with the fact that they were able to execute, such a lightweight upscale from the patent, and still you have this ridiculously nice agility to it. Let's go over to ride comfort. The suspension that I had was a little bit stiff, so it was not super duper comfortable, but it didn't bottom out at all, and it made it really easy to jump, preload, and do all of the funky things. Going downstairs is not a problem. The tire size, even though it's a 20-inch wheel, I couldn't really distinguish the feeling that this had from the Patton. So I will be switching my Patton to a street tire once that's back up and running. It felt I told Rob Fail this over at Will Good Time. For the braking, when you put the pad up in the high back spot, kind of where it's supposed to kind of fit, like the stock pad situation that they have, that produces some of the nicest braking. I think you just saw that right there, in fact. It produces some of the nicest braking that I have ever experienced on a wheel. And it just it creates a really interesting, very nice hinge that just seems like a perfect. It's just there's something very, very unique about that. So the braking on it is pretty exquisite. I honestly don't like the toe blocks. There's a lot of people that really like the toe blocks. I absolutely do not like these things. If you want to use them, you got to lock them down all the way. If they're locked down all the way, then what ends up happening is you have this rigid plastic thing locking your foot down. Okay, you know this, but when the wheel tips over and that cutout angle doesn't stop at 45 degrees and it's like down at like 60, 70 degrees, a little hill or something, and your foot's still in there, and the wheel tries to spin in a circle, it's going to try to do that with your foot on it, and it's going to be uncomfortable. I'm sure there's a few people out there who've had this happen, and they just haven't reported it because they probably feel like they're the ones that are at fault. This is a design flaw. This is not a upgrade having this toe block. So, and if you use it in a way that keeps it safe to where that you can lift it off of your foot high enough to where that you can, come out of it if you need to, because there's zero pliability to this thing. I mean, I like to ride locked in, but this is just a little bit too aggressive. So if it's high enough to where that you don't have to, where you can bail easy, then when you jump up and you hit it with your foot, it creates this weird sensation when you're riding, like this like ceiling on your jump. So you jump up, your foot goes up, and then you hit this knob, and then you come back down, and it's like this weird nuisance to the jump rather than kind of a boon to it. It is amazing, however, the height for seated riding. If you're 6'5", 7 foot forever, you're going to be able to ride seated on this wheel. It's pretty tall, so that makes it pretty well easy, in my opinion, to ride seated. So big win for the brakes. Not such a big win for the toe blocks, in my opinion. I really didn't get to explore the connectivity or any of the features of the app. I didn't hook it up to. I have an Logitech G Cloud. That's what I use for my Android purposes. I do not have an Android phone and do not have one for the wheels. I just use my iPhone. The safety of this wheel is, I think, probably not understated. I think everybody appreciates what this wheel does. Essentially, you're going to have a tilt back all the way through the maximum speed, if you so desire it. That's kind of the way that Leaperkim has built this wheel. So, take into mind that sort of peace of mind and security that, they built a significant overhead into what you were able to access. Actually, much like how the Challenger was. There is there's a 20% overhead on what the Challenger, the V13, delivers. And so there's something like a 20% overhead on what you have here. So in terms of safety, it is an incredibly safe wheel. You can go fast and not worry about it. It has rear lights and headlights. The headlight, I really appreciate Leaperkim headlights more than any other headlight in the game. They are super duper bright, and they make it to where you can see going super duper fast at night. And for me, that's critical. That's super duper important. In contrast, the V14 light is incredibly considerate to everybody but the rider. It has roughly a 25-foot throw, and for me, going 30 plus miles at night, that just doesn't suit me. So it's critical to have the shred light headlamp in this sort of situation. The battery and range seems, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, at 2,700 watt hours, it seems to produce a lot more efficiency than what you would expect. So it's got a 2,700 watt hour battery. You can get that in a 50S or in a 50G, 50GB, or 50E model battery, and it is going to I think it's going to perform probably better given the voltage and the motor specs with the 50S battery. Definitely going to produce much less battery sag. And when used in the same conditions, should be a longer lasting battery than the traditional 50E when used in the same exact scenario. Now, if you max out the 50S to its absolute complete limits, which you shouldn't be able to do inside of any normal circumstances, then you may be able to wear the battery out quicker. It charges pretty darn quick, actually. I was very impressed with how quickly it was able to charge up to full speed and give you access to all of that fun all over again. They definitely upgraded the charging port this time. Last time the charging port was a pain with the patent. There was just no good way to make that happen, and no good way to get the flap to close. Here, the flap closes very plainly, very easily. The charging port sits at the back. It is quite easy to access. There is no downsides to where it is located or how it is located. I am very, very, very pleased with that. It's not meant to be a portable wheel. It's not meant to be like a lightweight like addition like an M10 or something. So it's not something to be considered for that. But it does have a convenience factor when it in regard to running errands or going to the grocery store. For me, I really love the way that the patent, the trolley handle is positioned, and the Lynx is the same. Sitting at the back of the wheel the way that it is, it makes it easy to affix a basket to the top and use a basket when shopping, and so this treats your wheel as a cart instead of an addition that you're having to troll around with your cart. So I really do like that about it, and I think that if more people knew about that, they would probably do it more often. It's a joy to shop with the patent, or I would imagine with the Lynx, just because of the way that the trolley handle is situated. It is, let's talk about the user interface. The little screen that we have there, they did a critical upgrade actually to what we had before. So the critical upgrade being that they gave us these lifted these lifted buttons instead of the recessed buttons that we had on the patent. So we no longer have to try to like wedge the side of our fingers down in there in order to access the buttons and the functionality and the things that we want to do. It does maintain its level of clarity still up from the patent. It's really, really, really easy to see that two-tone screen, and it communicates all of the information that you care about very quickly. So there's no downsides to that. You can access everything that you want to from the wheel, from the tilt angle, the speed, the battery, like the you can access your your high speed mode. You can access your extended battery range mode. You can access tilt angle dynamics. You can access just so many things. There's just so many things that you can touch from that particular screen. It's really, really, really intuitive. Lastly, guys, one of my favorite things is the way that the community receives the Leaperkim wheels. Everybody in the community gets so excited, and we start to see a slew of super high quality aftermarket parts and really creative ways to take a BMW of wheels to a whole different level. Grizzla, Nilanova, E-Rides, all of these people come together to make some of the craziest aftermarket parts. Anyway, guys, if you've stuck around for this long, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much, and I look forward to making more wonderful content for you. Again, thanks to Jason over at E-Rides. If you haven't, please click that like, subscribe, get the notifications. I'm trying to get better at this every time, guys. I tried to make this a whole lot more expeditious than the last ones that I've done. I realize that your time is super important, so I tried to pile through this information just as quickly as I possibly could. I hope you enjoyed the rides, and take care. Oh, if you do decide to get a Lynx, you'll probably want to get a Pidzoom charge enhancer to protect your investment. Later, guys.
Will it beat? beats.